what I want to teach you guys today is co-citation. Now, this is a hack that you use to borrow other people's authority. And one of my favorite things to do is to use other people's stuff. I like to use other people's content, other people's authority, and all those kind of things so that I have to do a lot less work to get rankings and to get content out and things like that. So this is another one of my favorite little hacks, which has actually been around since about 2012 is when they started discovering this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
Okay.
Let me go over there and go to my slides, start screen share. Now, can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is kind of an advanced SEO hack. Even though there has been some chatter about this, and like I said, they started discovering that this actually worked back in 2012 and 2013, but not a lot of people have actually adopted it. You find a few people who are using it marginally, which is really surprising to me because it's a very, very powerful technique. So first I wanted to talk a little bit about where this comes in. Now, Google has a lot of different things that it takes into account when it's determining where to rank your particular content, whether it's a video or a blog post. There are a lot of different things. So it's, you know, content quality, it's optimization, siloing, keywords, LSI keywords, semantics, where your content links to, and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, just the list is pretty daunting if you were to try and list everything that Google takes into account. But there are some that are bigger than others, and so this one, the authority and topic relevance, is really what we're talking about manipulating here. So in topic relevance, Google has really gotten smart enough to look at related words in the content to figure out what the topic really is, and we call this semantics. This means that pages can even rank for words that are not directly on the page, and when you add in the fact that Google looks several tiers outward at the topics of the pages you link to, or that are linking to you, or are mentioned in links of pages linking to you, you get much more of an idea of the topic relevance, and so Google is doing all of this so you can rank for things that aren't even on the page, and because Google understands the topic that deeply, and just by looking at what's surrounding it and what's linked to it. Now, the other thing that we really go after with this particular strategy of co-citation is your author or domain authority. And Google wants to know, is the domain trustworthy? Does the domain display expertise and great content on the specific topic? And they also like to see sites that are kind of newsy, so a little bit of news channel. This is one of the reasons that curation works so well. Sorry, I needed a sip of water there. So those are a couple of the big things that we're going after when we're trying to hijack other people's authority and their relevance with co-citations. So let's talk about how this came about. Now, back in 2012, there started to be a little bit of chatter amongst the different SEOs, and some of the really big reputable ones were writing articles and remarking that they're seeing this effect. And this is from Search Engine Journal. They said, if you remember, after the famous Google Panda and Google Penguin updates, link building was significantly revolutionized by the introduction of new, more pure and reliable methods by Google. Now, in other words, Google wanted to kind of move away from links as their primary signal and start actually thinking for themselves, really. And so they said that likewise, SEO professionals are now suggesting that anchor text is perhaps diminishing in significance and is now being replaced by co-citation and co-occurrence, as many SEO professionals and analysts believe. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what co-citation really is. I have this nice little chart that I got from Search Engine Journal which explains it in a nutshell pretty well. So let's say that you are Site B. Site B is your money site. It's not one of your PBNs or a site that you're using just to drive traffic to another site. This is the actual site that you want to get those leads on or get people to buy something on. So this is the money site. Or this could be your client's money site. Now, Site A is sort of a news site. They talk about a lot about the topic that you are using a lot. So let's say that your site was about golf. Well, Site A covers news in golf a lot. And so they will talk about different aspects of golf and maybe curate articles and just kind of cover the news in a newsy fashion. And so Google kind of likes them because they're always talking about big authorities. Now, Site C is a really big authority. And they write a lot of stuff about golf, but they're writing original content rather than covering news like Site A is. So Site A has authority, but they have less authority. Now, Site C has a lot of authority because they have a lot of content about golf, and they are talking about golf constantly and churning out new content. So Google really loves Site C. And what you're seeing here is if on the same page, this site, Site A, that's kind of covering the news, is talking about Site C, and they also mention you, a page on your site, what Google does is it looks at this and it says, okay, they're on the same page, they're talking about the kind of the same topic, maybe this Site B should be ranked a little bit higher. And so what happens is that some of the authority kind of rubs off from being mentioned in the same breath, that Google kind of makes the assumption that you're similar and that these pages are similar and that maybe you should rank a little bit higher. And so the part that's really kind of fun about this is that if you really think about it, you've got kind of a boomerang effect going with the authority. You've got the authority juice flowing backwards from Site C to the site that's making the co-citations, and then it's running the other direction back to you. So, which is, when I first got that, I was kind of like, wow, mind blown. That is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
So yeah. Anyway, so that's the basic strategy. Is that what you're trying to do is manufacture this situation. So let's talk a little bit more about how that actually works and more about what they said about it. So Search Engine Journal again says, as strange as it may sound, co-citation refers to the process of link building without actual links. Let me say that again. As strange as it may sound, co-citation refers to the process of link building without actual links. Now, how cool is that?
Yeah.
That you can actually just be mentioned. There doesn't even have to be a link to your site in order for this to work. Google just has to figure out who they mean. Now, you can use links, but it doesn't always have to. I say, unlike anchor text where actual links were embedded in words or phrases, co-citation does not necessarily have to involve actual outgoing links to your website or blog. More precisely, the process of co-citation refers to the similarities found between two web pages, based on a third-party web page that successfully mentions the first two web pages in a correlation with each other. Based on that co-citation, Google identifies a relation or link between those two websites, which is then used as an important search engine ranking factor. And further, they said that although a few co-citations may not drastically improve your search engine ranking, so if you just do one or two, you may see small improvements, but you're not going to see a huge thing. It says it will definitely put you on the right direction in terms of improving your website's search engine optimization, but on being associated a lot of times by impartial sources, and I want to add impartial appearing sources, it has the potential to create a significant positive impact on your website or blog. And so this is a strategy that once I actually learned about this strategy, I had been using it on some blogs of my own. I had a kind of like a jewelry supply website, and so I had my VA curating posts on a daily basis, and then she would use co-citation strategy on this to push those into the search engine results very quickly. So we had the benefit of this particular strategy getting things indexed very quickly, and also we started to rank for a whole heck of a lot of keywords, big and small keywords. And so that was kind of our first experience with it. We were doing it all manually at the time, and even though it was really effective, there were some things that my VA didn't like about it, namely how much time it took. And so we'll get into what we did in just a little bit about that. So I hear somebody sniggering over there. Who is that?
You're going to share the software, the solution that you created to resolve the time intensity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So, because I'm really lazy, and I'm told that is what makes a good programmer, is that you are really lazy and you really get bored easily of doing repetitive tasks. And so I just decided, okay, well, I'll just write some software that will do most of this repetitive stuff for me. And so I'm going to show you that in a little bit.
All right.
Okay, so when you're doing co-citations, I'm just going to kind of review this, that the three important content ranking factors that you're going after are content, semantic relevance, you're going after site authority, and site trust. Because if you have people talking about you that are trusted, then you must be trustworthy too. And I kind of compare this to what would happen if you go to Hollywood and you go to a popular cafe where a lot of the movie stars are always hanging out, and you sit down at a table, and a couple minutes later, here comes Angelina Jolie, and she sits down at your table. And the two of you proceed to have lunch out in the open air where everybody can see you and chatter and laugh like you're great old friends. And the next day you go back there again, and maybe her husband comes, you know, Brad Pitt comes and sits there with you, and maybe she might happen along too, and you have a second lunch out there. Well, what do you think that the paparazzi, who are always following those people around, are going to be doing? By, you know, probably on the first or second day they're going to be really curious about you, who you are, but by the third day they're probably going to be following you home to find out who you are and get the scoop. And Google is a lot like that. They really like to cover trending news. You know, they have a real thing for freshness. They don't like to be beaten to the punch. They want to have the newest, best news all the time. And so they're really kind of like that, where they're like paparazzi following people around, and they like to rank the people who look like they're important. So we started out to kind of do this the manual way, as I mentioned. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can write articles and place the co-citations inside those articles and put them on a PBN or a Web 2.0 site with links to those authorities and your own money sites side by side. Now, one of the things about this is that, now this is the really, really hard manual way. There's also a semi-hard manual way, and which we'll get into in a second. Now, this is very slow, very time-consuming. You'll need to write multiple articles to get multiple co-citations. And one of the biggest problems that we found with these also is that co-citation carrier articles will fall out of favor as they age, and then Google will kind of shove them aside. You know how they are about fresh content. They like fresh, and they don't really like old, and so they kind of shove it out of the way and go on to something that's newer and exciting. So that was one of the big problems that we ran into with doing it with just articles on a PBN, is that there was no freshness to keep Google coming back, and it was really time consuming. Now, there's also a way of doing this using RSS feeds, and so we were doing that with RSS feeds to create the co-citations by just combining feeds. And that got rid of the need to write articles for, you know, like a PBN or Web 2.0 sites. You still have to write your own money articles, money site articles, but so that was a little bit of an improvement there, but there was still a lot of hunting and finding the RSS feeds of people who were suitable for the content that you're trying to target, and there was a lot of copying and pasting, and that was really the point that I had handed it off to my VA, and she started complaining about it. And when your VA is your sister, you kind of have to listen. So yes, my sister didn't like doing that very much. So then we moved into creating some software to do this, and so what we would do is that we would create RSS feeds by merging our own content feeds and the feeds of high authority sites in our niche. Now this improved because there was no content writing needed, and because the feeds constantly refresh. Now I'm just going to I'm assuming that most of the people who are in your group know what a feed is, just
Yes.
because I know that you teach feeds, but I'm going to refresh that anyway. A feed is the latest content from a particular website. It's not all the content, it's the latest, and it's usually limited to about 10, maybe 20 articles at most. And so as new articles are published by that site, the oldest articles leave the feed and the new ones come in. So you've got a constant change going on, and remember, Google likes freshness, so they come back and they recrawl the feeds quite often. And so when you create a feed that's a merge like that, you've got that freshness going on that Google really likes, and so they keep coming back and they keep considering it as interesting content. Now, there is one thing that you need to do in order for that to work long term. You remember that we mentioned that with a feed, items move through the feed and then drop out. Well, the problem with that is that if you have a particular post you're trying to target, like say I have a post on how not to slice when I'm golfing, and I really don't golf, but I've heard that, so I'm just kind of faking it there on the golf topic. But if I have a post about how not to slice when I'm golfing, and I want to be targeting that post for all of this authority and relevance, if that post drops out of the feed that I've created, what happens?
You lose
Well,
that authority, huh?
right. It stops channeling it at that. It's like diverting a river away from a before it reaches a town. The town no longer gets the benefit of the water if you route it away. And so because that's what happens, you need to have a way to keep that particular item in the feed long term so that this continues to work long term. So let's just go over what a co-citation feed looks like. As I mentioned, these are kind of a special animal. They're not just a munge of feeds. You do have to have the item staying there. So here's kind of a little chart that I've drawn to show you what this looks like. So this is a listing of articles that are all kind of in the same topic. So this is, I'm going to give this a title, Golf Tips and Tricks Newsletter. Now usually this becomes on say a web page or a video. How important is the blog title, the post title or the video title, to the SEO optimization?
It's about the most important element.
Right. And so with a feed, that is where you're targeting your keyword the same as you would with a blog post or a video, is that you give it the SEO optimized title. So you need to be able to give the feed a title that's optimized. Now also you use the description of the feed with SEO optimized, so you include a keyword rich optimized feed description, and that's kind of tailored to team up with this. It kind of acts like your meta tags or the first paragraph in an article, and so that provides extra juice. So you need to be able to do that. Now you also need with this to be able to keep this item. So this is my article that I'm trying to target for the relevance and the authority. And I should also mention that the authority kind of spreads out over the entire site. The more co-citations you have to content on that site, the more authority that whole site gets. And I'll kind of explain that a little bit more a little bit later. So then in the rest of the feed, what you have is content, links to content from these other sites that are authorities. So let's see, authority site A, let's call this Angelina Jolie of golf, and authority site B, let's call this our Brad Pitt of golf, and authority site C, let's call this our Tiger Woods of golf. I don't know very many golf authorities, so anyway. But, you know, so you can kind of see that you have different articles, a mix of content, and of course these are always changing as new content is published. And then you'll have some of your own, your regular feed put in there so that your content is also changing, and it kind of makes it look like this item belongs there in the rest of the feed. But the way Google sees this is as a curated list of content that is all on the same general topic. And so they look at these as co-citations, that you are being mentioned alongside all of this other content. And Google really also loves clusters of content, so you're kind of playing off that as well. With a co-citation feed, you've got a very dense topic cluster on that particular topic. And so all of these items keep changing, and Google comes back and recrawls the feed and sees these co-citations being generated and changed all the time. So does everybody kind of understand how that works?
Yeah, I think so. Is there any questions? Has anybody noticed any questions about it?
No. People are listening.
Looks like they're pretty quiet, so I think they're glued.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let's move on a little bit here too, because this is kind of fun. Now this is kind of a busy little drawing, but it's about as simple as I could really make it. So let's talk about how to make this a living co-citation system. We've kind of seen what the anatomy of the feed looks like. So let's look at the process that creates these. Now this is the system that I eventually developed to kind of automate this so that it was a lot easier, it's very fast, that you can do one of these in just a couple of minutes. And so if every time that you're publishing something new, you do this with it, and it gets into the indexes very, very quickly, and you start to rank for a whole bunch of keywords very quickly, because Google is seeing this increase in the authority and increase in the relevance. And so it kind of tells Google, okay, this particular piece of content is about this topic, and this is where you need to index it. So you give them a really big clue that is what they need to do. So the first place that we go is that you'll need to find the authorities to go with your content. So what the software does is that it goes out to Google search. It says, give me all of these sites that rank for this keyword, and we let you pick specific types of sites also. So Google returns those rankings, and then the software goes out, and instead of you having to go and look at each one of those sites individually and look for their feed and copy and paste their feed into a list and then go look at the feed and determine if it's useful, the software will go and just do that and scrape all the feeds off of these and then bring back a list. It also brings back Moz API data for the page authority and the domain authority. So the page authority would be for the actual page that is ranking in Google for that particular term. So if I had if I was ranking for golf swings and I had a page that it was at golf.com/golfswings, it would bring back the page authority for that particular page and then the whole domain's authority. And this is really valuable for determining who has the most authority to donate to you when you're borrowing their authority. So it does that process, and then it also lets you preview the feed so you can see how old it is there content still being created in it, so you can choose the ones that are really the best and can donate the most authority to you, so you can borrow the most authority. Then what the software does is it sends this over, sends these instructions for what to combine, your content and the authority content, sends those over to RankFeedr, which creates these little co-citation engines. And I'm going to call them engines because that's really what they are, is that they continue to update, they continue to run, and the site over here, RankFeedr. Now, we used to use Pipes for this, but of course, as most people know, Pipes is closed, so we really ended up having to build our own. We looked for about 50 different that we tested, and we just couldn't find one that would do everything that we needed. Every one of them dropped the older things from a feed. Even if that feed only had one item in it, it would still drop it once it got older than the rest of the content. And so you couldn't do the longevity with it. So we built this, and so it has a bunch of different features that really are really useful for this. We actually improved the process quite a bit. So it sends these instructions over here. Now RankFeedr bundles all of that stuff up. It goes and gets all the feed content. It goes and gets the static pages. Now static pages are what we call items that you want to stay in the feed forever and ever and ever. And so that is a static page. And we actually made this so that you can pull in other co-citations that aren't in a feed as well. So if you wanted to be mentioned on the same page or in the same feed as a page from Wikipedia that was really relevant, guess what? You can do that. You can do that with .govs and .edus, and so these are static pages. So it would be your content or the static pages. So it pulls back information about those, bundles that all up, and turns it into a feed that keeps running and keeps churning out the co-citations, keeps changing over time. And then once it's done that, it has integrations with 97 different ping services, and it starts making a whole huge racket that all points to this little co-citation engine. And the point of that is to get those co-citations indexed so that all the different search engines see that relationship and can make a decision to let that authority and that relevance rub off on your content. And then, of course, the desktop software from then also runs it through FeedBurner, so you've got a second copy. And this actually forces Google to crawl that and also see the co-citations pretty instantly. And we found that this part, running it through FeedBurner, actually caused it to get into the indexes usually within about an hour. Sometimes I had some, when I was doing the testing with the jewelry supply blog, I had some that would turn up and be channeling traffic to the website within just a few minutes, but usually it would happen within an hour. And so that is really, really fast, getting it, not only so Google knows about it, but they're actually sending traffic that fast.
Yeah.
And then it runs another layer of pings over here, so you've got two different IP addresses doing it. Your computer running pings, and then you have this one running a whole bunch more pings. And so that's basically how the system works to create that co-citation juice and to really kind of push the authority up of the different websites. Now, we mentioned earlier that the effect of having just one or two co-citations, while it improves your SEO optimization, is not going to make a huge difference. It's when you have quite a number of them pointed at a website that you start to see a real improvement, where the authority of that website will start to rise enough that it will become much easier for your content to rank. And so this is kind of what you're looking at when you're running, like, say this is a little co-citation engine here, and it is channeling all of this authority and relevance to this page, and this one's channeling it to this page. Well, what Google sees is a large spread of things that are all talking about different pages on your website. So that looks very natural, as opposed to if all of these were pointed at one page. And so we find that the more you do this, the bigger this web gets of things that are pointing back at your pages, and the more powerful that network of co-citations gets. So does anybody have any questions at that point?
So far, the only question I see is Daniel S. says, are you saying that you never want any of the content dropping off, like the other services that you tried? So as far as like the sticky item that you make sticky, you don't, which with the graphic that you were just showing, you call them co-citation engines, right?
Uh-huh.
So the co-citation engine is driving relevancy and authority into your sticky link at all times, correct?
Correct.
And that's why you don't want it to ever drop out of the feed. Am I right? Okay.
Right, because if it's not there anymore, then Google stops being able to see the relationship between the pages.
Right. So
that
that
is one of the reasons you always
Daniel's
want it to
question.
stay there. It's kind of like if you put a river in a rock in the middle of the river. What happens is that the river continues to flow around that, and the rock continues to get the benefit of that water around it.
Right.
And so, but if the rock were to be light enough where it would roll downstream and out, then there's no more benefit. And so that's really what's going on.
Okay.
So it's a longevity strategy, is what it is.
That was the only question we had so far.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna talk a little bit now about the actual software and because there's two pieces to the system that we created. The RankFeedr is actually, we had to create this service because, as I mentioned, we really went through and tested a bunch of things, and we just couldn't find one that would do everything that was needed. And while we were at it, we added a whole bunch of other features too. So briefly, the software is called RSS Authority Sniper 2.0. The original version used pipes, but of course we had to redo that once pipes closed. So it combines easy authority feed searches. It's got integration with RankFeedr, so you don't even have to leave the software. It just has an API, and it will create the feeds over there for you. So you don't have to leave. You don't have to hand out your password to your VAs. You can just give them the API key, and they can create things without being able to delete any of your feeds or any of that. It's also got, as we mentioned, the Modscape URL metrics integration, and then sends to the feed burner. It's got ping submission, and it also keeps a history, and you can export the history. So if you have VAs working for you, you can get them to make reports of what they've been doing just by giving you the submission history. And it also supports unlimited RankFeedr and FeedBurner accounts. So that's the software. Also, I should mention it's Adobe Air, so it works on Mac or PC. Okay. And it's pretty solid.
So let me ask you something. The question, the last bullet point there that said unlimited RankFeedr and FeedBurner accounts. I'm assuming that you mean, like, for example, if you sold. And maybe I'm thinking about this wrong, but why would you have unlimited RankFeedr accounts unless you were going to be getting RankFeedr accounts for individual clients? Would that be it?
Yeah, if you wanted to do that, if you actually wanted to pass that on to a client, or you had clients who had their own, then yeah, it supports switching between accounts when you're doing that. Okay, and so you can do that. Also, the FeedBurner, sometimes people like to segregate them by niche or by client or by website, so it just allows you some flexibility there.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so I'm gonna just show you kind of some of the features that went into RankFeedr, because there's actually quite a bit. Now, I've included pipes here because pipes really was the closest contender to what we built, but of course it's gone now. The others that we looked at, some of them had some features and some of them didn't. So join multiple feeds, that's basically what you call feed mashing. So pipes did that, RankFeedr does that. There are a lot of others that will do that part. Now, pipes could keep a single item from a single post feed in a feed long term. Now, we built RankFeedr to do that part because really that was necessary. Otherwise, it just wouldn't keep delivering the power to that over time, to the post, the target content, or this also works for videos too. So But we haven't found any others that will do that. As I mentioned, that was one of the first things that I always tested when I would go to, and I had people sending these in to me. Had a bunch of customers saying, well, what about this one? What about that one? And that would be the first thing that I would test, and they would drop it. And so we weren't able to find any others that would keep this in the feed. Now, a lot of these, some of these, if you're using this too much and it looks like you're automating stuff, they will throw up captchas against you, which of course is a huge pain in the neck. And so we didn't really want that. So we made ours with an API instead, so that we didn't have to have people try and pretend to be a user in a browser. So it just uses the API. There's a programmatic access. Now ours also, as we mentioned, does ping on publish. So when that feed first goes live, it will start pinging away the 97 different services. And so it starts summoning search engines to crawl the co-citations right away. Now, none of the others that we looked at have any mention of pinging or calling the search engines to come look at the feeds. Now, that's not to say that none of them do, but we couldn't find any that actually mentioned that. Now, none of them also will keep pinging. So RankFeedr has a drip ping feature, so that as the feed changes, you want the search engines to come back and recrawl it. And so running a drip ping every few days will serve that purpose and get the search engines to keep coming back so that they know that this has changed and that they need to look at it again. And then also we have the sticky items that are not from the feeds. So when we first did pipes, this was really, really difficult to do. You could do it, but it was really difficult to do because of the pipes interface being so complicated. I don't know if you guys really have seen the pipes interface. If you go and create
used it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dragging things around and the drawing little lines between them and connecting them and then typing in cryptic little things. So that was really not easy to do. You could do that with pipes, but it wasn't easy. So we've made ours really, really easy. All you need to do is give it the URL and it will just put it in there and keep it in there forever because it knows that that's what you want. And none of the others that we saw would even allow you to put an item that wasn't already in a feed. If it's not in a feed, it doesn't take it. So when we added this was to allow us to remove the limitation to where you had to have a site that supported feeds and supported single post feeds. And not very many of them do. It used to be that WordPress, Blogger, and YouTube originally supported single post feeds. But YouTube took the single feeds away from the videos. You now cannot get one with just a specific video in it unless you make a playlist with one video in it.
Right.
So that's a lot of extra work. So we made that so that would work as well, so that it opened it up to being used by any kind of website, no matter what it was. You could just add these items, you know, and target a specific page or a specific video, whether there was any feed available for it or not.
So you can get the benefit of co-citation even to a YouTube video, which is pretty interesting.
Right. Right, and the fun thing about that is that this is actually where this strategy, when I first saw it, there was a guy who had been teaching a how to rank a video course probably back in 2012 or 2013, and he had this particular sequence where he was using some feeds in there, and I was trying to figure out what the heck he was doing, because I was acting as a JV, and I always like to read the content and review the content before I will promote something, because I want to know that it's actually good and that I'm not going to have egg on my face if I promote that. Don't ask me why, but that's important to me. So, you know, so I saw this strategy and I was like, what is he doing? Why is he doing that? I just don't understand. And so, you know, it's like it really bugged me, and I thought about it for a long, long time. And then I got it, and I was like, oh, he's borrowing their authority. He's borrowing their relevance. oh, I get it. That's brilliant. And so that's really where this came from. Is it came from the video marketing space, and I adapted it to use on my blogs, and we got really great results there when we were using it with curated content. And so then the software came about at that point.
It's awesome.
So, well, thank you. Now, there's one other thing here, YouTube feed expansion. Now, this is something, you can see that we kind of went out to fix a bunch of little problems that, or limitations that we'd encountered. And one of the other things that when the YouTube single post feeds disappeared was that they also took most of the content out of the feed. It used to be that you'd have this lovely little formatted of the video description, and you would have the thumbnail in there, and
Yeah.
you know, so it was really
now you have only the link to the YouTube video.
right. Yeah, it was really useful before, and it's not useful now.
Right.
So what we did with feed expansion is we put it back. So here is what you see without the expansion. But if you run that same feed through RankFeedr, when it comes out the other end, everything's back where it belongs, and you can now use it for your networks, and because it's got all the links where they belong, and it's got the thumbnails. So that was one thing that we really were excited to put in there also, is it just restored the usefulness of these feeds. And I think it was you, Bradley, who was really excited when you saw that the first time.
Yeah, because ever since they updated the feeds and now they're just links, it kind of screwed up some stuff. So this could be really powerful for our IFTTT syndication networks,
right,
guys, because we could actually start using feeds again for YouTube SEO, which is something that we had kind of had to get away from as part of the second tier networks, especially because the RSS feeds didn't work. So
right.
This would be a good way to add that content back in, especially if you're doing tiered networks for blog syndication and you want to add some additional video content triggers into the second tiers. We were unable to do that as of the most recent YouTube update with the RSS feeds, but this gives us that ability to do that again.
Right, and you don't even have to do one YouTube feed per co-citation feed. You can actually stack these because you can merge, I think, up to about 10. So if you had, added 10 different channels that you wanted to pull content from, they would all flow out of that one co-citation feed.
Nice. Okay.
With the content all reconstituted and expanded.
One of the things that I'm seeing here that goes even beyond domain authority is that you're actually triggering TrustRank and the ranking score algorithm when you're doing this, because you're creating proximity to what they call seed sites and seed sets inside the TrustRank and ranking score algorithm. So you're actually talking directly to that section of the algorithm that will give you back the trust that you need to again, because I'm doing the webinar that we spoke about before we started.
Right.
And it's all about this. It's all about just getting as close as you can to a website that Google trusts, and there's nothing closer than to have a co-citation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing too that's really fun about this is that you could go and try and bribe the webmaster all you want on some of these really big sites. You are never going to get a backlink from some of those sites. But you don't need their permission to borrow their authority this way. All they have to have is a feed, and if they don't have a feed, you can still borrow the authority of the most relevant pages by including them in the feed as static items.
Yeah.
So you don't need their permission.
So let me just talk about that briefly, because so instead of you can also take a authority-based article and make that on somebody else's blog and make that as a sticky item into your RankFeedr feed as well, so that you get that you're constantly leaving that real high authority, maybe high traffic, a lot of social signals, that sort of thing, article in that sticky feed as well. So that's going to always be included as a co-citation source for your article. That's another sticky item, correct?
Exactly.
Awesome.
That is exactly how it works. So yeah, you can see that we've made this process much more powerful than it used to be. Now there's a couple of other features that are in there that I wanted to mention too. One of the other things that we added was SEO-friendly URLs for the feeds. So you're not only getting the relevance for the keyword from the title, which I mentioned here, but you're getting it from the slug of the URL. It will have it'll start with a number and then it'll have the actual feed title as the slug behind that. And with pipes, you didn't get that. You got a number. And with most of the others, you get a number. So we made that so that is really unique for RankFeedr so that it's able to do that. And of course, we've touched on the titles already and the descriptions. Now another thing we added was the SEO feed categories. Now Google has its own list of published topic categories, and so we went through theirs and kind of reduced it a little bit so that there wasn't about 10,000 categories. There's still quite a lot, but we reduced it a little bit. And so now the feeds actually have categories that you can choose, and that shows up in the actual feed XML, so that you get this extra little goose that you're giving Google of, okay, this feed is about this, and so the items that are in this feed are also about this. Crawl them accordingly.
Awesome.
And another thing that we did is we made it so that you can edit the feeds. Now, if most of the feed mashers that we've seen out there, once you create that feed, in spite of all the other things that are missing, once you create that feed, it's gone. So you go and submit that URL, and then one of your companions, the companion feeds goes away. You can't go and change that. Or if you decide that you want to kind of change up which content is in there of yours without losing all of the URL submissions that you've done of that feed, if you go and submit it to RSS directories, you can't do that. It's gone. It's not yours anymore after you submit it. But with this particular service, it's re-editable, so you can go and swap out things. You can go and add more static URLs later if you want. Now, one thing that we've done that's kind of an extension of this is that we go and take more of our own content. Now, say I have an article about golf swings, and then I write an article about a specific golf swing, and then I write another article about a different specific golf swing. Well, all of that content is really closely related, and on your website you probably have that siloed together. But we've made it so that when you publish new content, you can actually go into the feed and add that static URL in to, so it's right next to the other content that is about that already, and so you can kind of silo the feed as well. Now we also let you sort, so you can choose whether you want it to kind of randomly mix things, so it's able to behave like various different other feed mashers. So you can do a random mix, you can ask it to sort things from newest first, or to always keep your static items at the top. So it's just
what is the one that says static in first third? What does that mean exactly?
Oh, that means that it will randomly put them in the top. So let's say that we have 4 feeds going into there with 10 items apiece. So that's 40 items, and then you have, like, say maybe 2 static items. Well, the first third would be, let's see, divide 40 by 3 would be about 12 or 13.
Yeah, about 13.
So your static items would appear in that top 12 or 13 randomly.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's just kind of another way of being able to determine where they are. So, because for different, if you are running these feeds through, like, say, an if network, well, I think it's not going to trigger if you trigger on new content if the top item is always the same, because I think the way if works is that it only checks the very top item.
Yes.
And so if you're actually running it through there and you want it to trigger on new content, then you wouldn't choose the static at the top. You would choose it in, like, newest first.
Okay.
So We just gave you some extra options there. And of course, we've got projects to help you sort out which website or client you're working for, and the feeds have feed tags. And then I mentioned that you can give API access to your VAs where they can create feeds and create projects, but they can't delete them.
Okay.
So it kind of keeps the mischief possibilities out there.
All right. Do you mind if we ask a couple questions real quick?
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay, Damon's asked, do the feeds get distributed on Web2s automatically or onto a WordPress blog, or are they simply syndicated through RSS directories?
I'm not sure what he's asking there.
Well, okay, so I think what he's asking is we typically will set up, syndication networks and trigger them with RSS feeds for, with our IFTTT networks that we build. And I think that's what he's asking is, does this provide any sort of syndication options as part of the service? But I would say that it does not, correct?
No, it doesn't. You can take them, and because the service also is giving that feed to anybody who has the URL and asks for it. So you can run these through your if networks. You can run them through plugins that you're using to autoblog. So it will work for any of those things.
Okay. Now, as far as RSS Authority Sniper will send it to a ping service, but then it's also up to us if we want to submit them to like aggregators and directories, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the aggregators and directories that we've been able to find don't have what I'll call open access. You kind of need an account.
Right.
And they frown very heavily on automated access, and so we felt that was something that really should be left up to you.
Yeah, and there's a RSS Submit 5 or whatever that'll do that too. It's another software. So, okay. Another question would be from Daniel S. If you've tested, is the rock that you're in your analogy with the rock, is it better pointed at the index or homepage or blog article / product page?
I point those at individual pages because if we go back here. Now, if I were to take and have all of these pointed at just one page, let's say that this is the index page. I'm just going to make it orange. Let's say that this is the index page. If all of these are pointed at the index page, how natural does that look?
Right. Right.
With these, what you're doing when you're targeting is that this particular page is on a specific topic that is not the same as this, and it's not exactly the same as that. Or this one. These are all different articles with slightly different keywords that you're looking for those. And so the feeds that you choose will be targeted around that particular keyword. So these would be different feeds than the ones in this one. These would be different authorities, different content running through it. So you're kind of doing a spread that all links back, but it looks very natural because it is all pointed at different pages, and so you're conferring relevance on the page and authority on the page, but you're also conferring sort of like a broader relevance and a broader authority on the whole site.
Right. So
now,
so each of your co-citation engines is going to be more narrowly themed, but
right.
it will cumulatively it will build a broader authority for that for the broader term itself, more authority for the broader term itself.
Right, and for the site. Now, one of our beta users who's been using this for about 10 or 11 weeks actually was looking at his domain authority, and he had just barely started a site. It was brand new. I think he said it was about 30 days old when he started doing this, and his authority on that domain moved from 6 to 11 within just a couple of weeks. So.
Nice.
So yeah, you can see that it moves the whole website, and as that whole website becomes more authoritative, then you start seeing a cumulative effect on all the individual pages as well.
Sure. Okay, one more question, and then I'll let you get back to your presentation. Sorry about the interruption.
Oh, no problem. We're nearly done anyway.
Graham says, how do you turn the feed expansion on? Because my feed from RSS Sniper 2 is just links. I don't know if you're going to do a software demo in a few minutes. Maybe you could show us then, or what?
Yeah, I can show that. It's automatic. If it's a YouTube feed, it expands it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, that should answer the question. that's the last one we had for right now. Oh, Bo asked one more thing. Can this be used for local? Yes, of course it can.
The particular customer that I told you about who saw his domain authority move from 6 to 11, he has now about, I think he said something like 25 first page rankings, and they are all local keywords.
Nice.
So yeah, he's working it you know, pretty consistently. He's doing this every couple of days. He has VAs running them, and has probably about 150 co-citation feeds created. So yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, I'm just going to show you some of the customer results just from comments. Now, this is the guy that I was telling you about. This is Mike, and he posted this in the Facebook group. And he said, for those of you still sitting on the fence or just haven't quite made the time to implement RSS Authority Sniper via RankFeedr, there's a little something to hopefully motivate you so you do not let these programs gather digital dust. Those of you that use RankTrack will recognize the following partial ranking report raw data. Now you notice that he's, for obvious reasons, expunged the name of the city that he's working within. But this is from his ranking report, and you notice that he's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Now the ones that are here that have got the little push pin in them, he's actually in the local pack also. So he's like first in the local pack, first in the local pack, second in the local pack, 2, 3, 3. So I mean, you can see how many rankings he's got for different keywords around the services that that particular client provides, and he's shown the things that have moved up. Like this one moved up a lot when he started targeting that. So he's seeing a lot of results from this. And but this guy also has a lot of competitors very close by. He has 23 competitors in a 25-mile radius.
Oh wow.
So he's doing a really great job for this client. I would guess that this client is really happy.
That's great.
And then these are some quotes from the first version of RSS Authority Sniper when we were still using Yahoo Pipes. And this gal was doing, you know, she was one of my curation course members. And she says, I haven't curated a lot of posts, but I will say that the posts I have curated and have used the authority sniping strategy on are the ones that got fast indexing, fast traffic, and actually deliver the most traffic to the 2 blogs that I applied the strategy to. I'm really looking forward to a way of making the whole process faster. And then Leonard said, just checking one of my posts, only did it this morning and already on first page. Awesome. And Sarah said, I just started using this week, but the post I wrote on Tuesday and went through the authority sniping process is #1 on Google right now for those keywords. I'm a believer. And so that was the first version, and as you can see, we've really improved parts of the strategy and really expanded it and made it more flexible for version 2. And then this is something that this was kind of fun. I actually took a post on my Authority SEO Lab blog and just did a single feed. And I was really shocked to see it crawl onto the first page very, very quickly. So what happened is I published that feed on May 4th, and then I looked before I published it. The content was not being shown in the first few pages of Google for the keyword. I only looked to about the 4th or 5th page, but usually if something's not appearing that's fairly targeted is not appearing there, is not going to be appearing in the rest of the pages either. So I did that, and then I published it, and I saw it within a few days climb onto page 3, just kind of popped up there at number 22. So it was just barely off of page 2, but on page 3. And then the next day it went up to 18, then it went up to 12, and it was on page 1 at number 9 within 6 days of pushing out that feed. Now that probably represents the most extreme result. where it came from nowhere and went onto the first page. And this keyword is probably not really very difficult, but you can see that if
I just searched for it. I see it as number 6.
oh wow.
Yep,
It's
I see it
fun.
number 6 on
It's
mine.
been kind of dancing around. I've seen it slip back onto to number 11 a couple of times, but it always seems to jump back up onto the first page. So it's kind of bouncing around between 5 and 9 or 5 and 11. So, but it stayed there. You know, it's it's nearly a month later, and it's still hanging on there. If you look at some of the other things that are for that, we've got videos, which of course Google really loves their own videos, and you've got one of these. I think one of these is V-roll, which has a lot of authority on the topic. V-roll is actually under me right there, and you see right above me there's digital marketer right here, and so these are all kind of heavy hitters, and I managed to sneak into that pack.
Yeah, I'm see. Like I said, I see your number 6 above digital marketer and real SEO. Could you provide us a link to a live feed to look at? Yeah, I'll give you one that I published earlier today because I was playing with it a bit before we got on the webinar. Here is one, and it's cool because as I edit the content sources for the feed, it can actually, like, it updates. You know, I click the update button and go refresh the page, and I'll see, like, if I want to change sorting options and that sort of thing. So here is an example feed.
More often it'll take, you know, a little bit more consistency on a daily basis of doing that for every piece of content that you publish, and I found it was most effective when used that way.
Yeah.
But still, that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, can you guys see it now?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so the one that I did here, I just played with, all I did was there's 2 sticky items. One is a YouTube link, and it's also the same as the blog post link that we have on our blog for Semantic Mastery, and I'll scroll down and show you. It's can IFTTT networks increase trust flow? This is the this is the item I made sticky inside of RankFeedr here, and then if we scroll down, and this is where I was asking about the top for items in the top third or whatever that I was asking about sorting options.
Right.
And this is the other one here, and I think there's roughly 50 some items in this feed. So this is the one, the actual Semantic Mastery blog, and then this was up here, the YouTube link, and those are the only 2 sticky items I had, and I just added in some other, you know, SEO related feeds in here. So, and it's cool. But if I go, like, for example, let me go back over into RankFeedr, and if I come down and change the sorting options, let's say newest first, for example, and click update. And I'll go back here and refresh. You'll see now those 2, because they were just posted today, actually because they were made sticky, they're put first in the feed, right?
Right. If you have a static first in the sorting.
Right. Yeah. So it dates it. It even changes the publish date, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So that's what you see now. You see they both jumped up to the top 2 positions, guys. You see that? That's because I have them assigned over here. Down here at the bottom is the static items inside of RankFeedr. So if I want to change it one more time, let's do just a random mix. Click update. We'll come back over and refresh the feed one more time, and you'll see that it should move again. It did. So they're in here somewhere. Just have to find them. There's one of them right there. Okay, so that's really cool. If you guys you should be able to view this in Firefox yourself. And let's see if there's any other questions. No. Did we get that straight yet, Adam? Are you working on that?
We are good to go.
Oh, we're good to go? Okay, well then I'm going to give it back over.
Alrighty.
Okay, so there you guys go. Let's see, I'm going to actually check that link myself. You want to talk a little bit about what your offer is?
Okay, well, the offer is that we have a special price on RSS Authority Sniper 2.0. This is the Launch Club offer, and we have a single or outsourcers pack. The single is 47. It's normally 67, and the outsourcers pack is normally 97 for 5 licenses, so you can share it with 4 VAs and yourself. And it's normally 97, but it's 67 right now we've got a little bit of a special on with you guys as customers. Now also you will need a RankFeedr subscription. The reason for that is that in order for a service really to stay to where it's not really bogged down in that, we do need a little bit of support for the hardware and the programmers and things like that. But we have kept the plans very reasonable. They start at about $17. So, and if you come in on this deal, if the price goes up in the future after launch, you get to keep your launch plan as long as your plan is in effect.
Yeah, that beats using Yahoo pipes and then having them shut it down on you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that is really the problem with free services, is that they change and people get irritated that you're using their resources and things like that. So we decided to just bite it and act like a real reputable business and charge a little bit to make sure that the service stays in good shape.
Which is fine. You know, that's the way it should be. So, Kendrick says, why isn't that YouTube feed showing expanded? Because, Kendrick, it wasn't a YouTube feed. It was a RankFeedr feed that I had placed a static YouTube URL in as a static item, just a single YouTube URL as part of that feed. It was not a YouTube expanded feed. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. And let me ask you a question, Lisa. If somebody were to come in and purchase, like, let's say, for example, the starter account. Wait a minute, let me see this. Yeah, the starter account, and they wanted to upgrade to Pro or Elite at a later date, would they still be able to do that at these prices, or would it be at whatever the pricing is at the time they upgrade?
Because what I do when I change the pricing is that I actually create a new account level. So all of the accounts right now have the word Launch Club in them.
Gotcha.
And so I can tell, you know, from what account you have now, which price tier you should be in, and so you'll be able to keep your launch tiers.
Gotcha.
And there actually is even, because we've got 3 tiers on the page right now. There's also an agency tier, which is a little bit more, but it was kind of a leap, and we didn't really want to overly complicate the sales page. We didn't put that one on there, but there is another tier above Elite if you actually run out of your quota.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Alrighty. So does anybody want to see like a demo of the software, or just kind of walk through the software itself?
Yeah, definitely.
I think everybody would want to see that, yeah.
Alrighty. Let's pop it open and let's see if I can.
You know what's amazing is I just did a Majestic search on that URL of that post that's ranking, and it's showing Majestic 0 backlinks. It's showing 0 backlinks, but it's got a citation flow of 14, and it's ranking, guys, above Real SEO, above V-Roll, above Ryan Dice's Digital Marketer. I mean, come on. That's crazy.
So yeah, a little bit of hijacking there goes a long way.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the software. You can see that we're on version 2.2.0, and that is because I fix bugs really fast. And so this actually just went live maybe not too long ago. But as I've had, so the software has really gotten stronger the more people that I've had. So here's the steps. This is kind of designed as a wizard, so let me just kind of explain that. The feeds info, this is where you're gonna grab the content that you're targeting. So if you're targeting a web page URL on your blog or whatever, or you're targeting a video, then you put the video watch URL here. And I think I'm just going to just grab something really quickly from YouTube. So hang on just a sec while I do that. And I'm just going to grab something. Okay, it's suggesting an ab workout to me, so you can tell that I've been playing with my software. Okay, so this is a video. So I'm just going to put the video URL in here and click Get Feed Info. Now what it does is that it actually shortens your research time by going out and finding the feed that belongs to this channel. If it's a video, it does the channel. If it's a website, it looks for the feed of that website. Now, one of the questions that people often ask about this part is, what if my site doesn't have feeds at all? Well, what I usually do there in that case is that I use the feed of some branded content, like a branded YouTube channel or a branded Tumblr blog that has the same brand as my website. So it's kind of like an extra little portal. But those kinds of things do have feeds, and so I can include that here as the feed along with my regular content. Once you've done that, just click next. You can see that was really fast. So let's look for YouTube channels, and let's just do fitness. I'm going to scrape the feeds. You can see that it goes out. It's gone out to Google. It's found YouTube channels that are ranking for the term fitness, and it's found 7 so far. 8, 9, 10. You can see this really fast. It would take you, probably at least half an hour to an hour to find this many if you were going and checking the results manually and going to the channel and then finding the feed and doing all of that. Now, we also got the Moz data that's come back here. So here's your domain authority, which of course on YouTube is 100 because, Google loves their own stuff. And page authority, so you can kind of see how well the page authority is, which ones might be worth using. Okay, so then it's also got so that you can preview the feed right in the software. You don't have to go anywhere. So this one last published on April 22nd, it looks like.
March 22nd, 2016, yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, March. So it's been a little while since they published, so I might want to choose something that's a little bit more active. But it gives you the ability to see all of that. 6.1, okay, so that one is still publishing regularly, so let's add that one to the list of feeds that we're going to include. And of course you can go and search different types here. I've also got Pinterest boards, Tumblr blogs, WordPress.com blogs, so like the free WordPress blogs. You can also look for things from Blogspot and just generally blogs. So you get a lot of choices here. You can even do YouTube playlists if you want. So this one is 2015, so it's been a while. And that one's a little bit older. 2016, okay, so that one's just a couple of weeks ago, so I would probably consider that one. Let's see how many I've got. I've only got 2 so far. Excuse me. So let's look for some blogs about fitness. I'm going to just clear that out so I can see what's new here. I'm going to scrape some blogs here. And there we go. It's found a couple. Because what it does is it looks for the actual feed link. And if the site doesn't have a feed link, then it just kind of assumes that it doesn't have one, and it kicks that out of the results.
Gotcha.
So, still looking. But you can see this is a lot faster to do the research for this.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, my VA was quite happy when this was created. Okay, so the skinnyconfidential.com. So this one's got domain authority of 48. That one's got domain authority of 83, but the page authority is a little bit. That's interesting that the domain authority is higher than is not the same as the page authority when it's the root of the site that ranked.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna choose this one and look. That one looks like it's really old. Okay, cuss words on the webinar. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Our audience is used to that.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we'll just choose that one just to kind of. Okay, so then at this point, this is the RankFeedr integration here. So what you're doing is, instead of going over there into the feed editor and having to, copy and paste everything in there, it's got everything assembled here. So these are the feeds that I'm going to use as my authorities that I'm borrowing authority from. This is my post that is receiving the authority and the relevance boost from this other content. And then, of course, this is the feed that from my content that's included there as well. So it's going to take these items and wrap them all into a feed over on RankFeedr. And then feed title, so I would optimize this feed title, load up my projects and the feed categories. You can see here's the categories. So beauty and fitness, I would just choose fitness there. And now, if this was actually my content, I would probably be taking a little bit more care about the title and the description. But you would write a SEO optimized description in here, and then you would choose a project. So now projects, as I mentioned, are just a way for you to organize your feeds. Now, if you're working for a client, you'll find this really useful to be able to organize them by client. So if your client stops paying you, guess what you come in here and do?
Right.
You come in here and you delete the feeds.
Yeah.
And they lose their rankings.
All right.
How often do you see a strategy where you can actually take their rankings away?
Yeah, go back and undo it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of fun there. So, and then tags, you can add tags here. So like keyword tags. Choose the sorting. Tell it to ping it when it's published. So that sets off the round of pings over at the server. And you can ask it to drip ping every so often. So I'm going to ask it to ping that about every week so that it will be resummoning search engines. Now this is, remember we talked about being able to add extra sticky items in. This is the spot in the software where you do that. We call this the Co-Citation sandwich. And it just gives you a couple of spaces to put in. You can go and find like a .gov or a .edu or both on that particular keyword, find something that's really targeted, and then just put the URLs here and click add.
Now you could put, using that same window right there though, you could also add static like items from other just authority. It doesn't have to be .gov or .edu, correct?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't enforce it. It suggests it, but doesn't enforce it at all. So anything that you want to put in there, you can.
Okay.
So if you have Wikipedia, if you have something from CNN or some other high authority that you can really boost the relevance and target that towards your own content, yeah, you add it there, and it doesn't care what it is. It will just take it. So, and once you did that, then you just click on Create Authority Feed and Get URL. I think I'm going to have to write some description here, otherwise it will probably complain. And it'll take it a few seconds because the server has to actually go out and fetch all this content and then wrap it all together. And so if some of these sites are a little bit slow answering, it will take a little bit longer. So it says that my feed has been created. When I go over here, look, here is the feeds that went into it that came from YouTube have undergone
the expansion.
Yep. Now at the moment it's not expanding the single URLs that go in there, the static ones. But I am gonna be working on that. So
okay, cool.
So that will be added. But yeah, you can see all the stuff that came out of it. And this came from a blog post, so it looks different, but yeah, we expanded it and all of that. And so that is the feed out there, and of course the server at this moment is busy telling all the search engines that this feed is there. And probably could have targeted this one a little bit better. It looks like the feed is kind of a little bit
too broad, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit too broad, but guess what? Nice thing that I can go in here and oh, I can't go into that account. I'm in the admin account.
Gotcha.
And if I start navigating around, you're going to see stuff you shouldn't see.
Yeah, but you can go in and edit it, right? Like you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can go in and edit that in the feed editor. So like I'm going to look at this one. Oh. Right. Okay, so I can just go in here and I can remove any of these that I want to remove, and I can replace it with something else. The feed URL stays the same. I can change anything else in here that I want. I can change the static items. I can completely change which feeds are being used in it. I can change the description and the title and move it around to different projects if I want to. All of that stuff can be changed. The only thing that will not change is the URL.
Gotcha.
And that is because if you change the URL, then all the places that you will have submitted it no longer have the right URL.
Okay. It's pretty impressive. So that what you're showing us right there is the actual
the feed editor. Yeah.
The rank feed from the RankFeedr feed that you created for that post that you just showed us, right?
No, this is ones that's in the admin account. Because I created that.
No, I meant for the in-stream ads one that you just showed us. The example that you showed us, correct?
Yeah, I think this one is one. It is.
The in-stream ads tutorial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's my blog feed there. You notice that I'm hijacking Gideon Shalwick.
Right. B-roll. Yeah.
And sold with video and union metrics, and then of course I added a co-citation sandwich in here. So this is a .edu with a thing about marketing, and then some more things about marketing from SBA.gov.
Awesome. And that's the one that she was just showing the example that if you search in-stream ad tutorial in Google, I don't know where it'll show up for you, but for me it was number 6. And I copied the URL. Well, I clicked on it and then went and copied the URL and checked it Majestic, and it's showing 0 backlinks. And that's insane. Number 6 outranking V-roll and real SEO and digital marketer with 0 backlinks. That's really impressive.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's not really a terribly difficult keyword, but there were some heavyweights in the rankings there. So.
Yeah. Let's see. We got a couple questions on the page. Let's see. So I'm going to copy and paste this one, or I guess we can just read it. But Wayne was asking, with RankFeedr, with the Elite 1100 co-citation feeds for 100 projects, what is considered a project? Would each page be considered a project?
No, projects are more like folders. So as you're working on something, if you have a particular website that you're working on or a particular client, you would make that client a project. And then every co-citation feed that you made for that client, you would put into that folder. That's what projects are. They're a way of organizing.
Okay, gotcha. And then Ken was asking, are you using proxies with RSS Authority Sniper?
No.
You shouldn't need to.
No, with Adobe Air, you really can't because Air just doesn't support it. I think on Windows it does. You can do it, but it's a little bit kludgy, and on Mac you can't. So it just
you shouldn't need to anyways.
Yeah, it just uses whatever the proxy settings are on your computer.
Yeah, yeah, and I think also remember you can add different like FeedBurner accounts and stuff too if you want to switch accounts or theme your accounts a bit more, which is what we would recommend you do anyways. So.
Right.
Just gonna hop in real quick to say, hey guys, everyone listening, watching, now's the chance. If you got any more questions or anything, by all means, please get them on the page. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so we're gonna wait a minute or two here, and but just now is a good time to put them down there.
Every new piece of content that you publish should have at least one of these. And if you want to go back and refresh other content later and maybe target it for different keywords, you can create a second or a third co-citation feed. But remember that they keep running, they keep refreshing, and so you know they really keep the effectiveness up a lot longer than just a simple article would do. But
so it's a set and forget strategy, basically.
yeah, it's that you do one for, you know, as you're publishing content, and you just leave them, you know, and they accumulate on the website or on the YouTube channel that you're working with, and it just boosts the overall authority, which makes it a lot easier to rank for keywords. And of course, you're getting that extra shot of relevance.
So guys, think about that. I mean, even because I know a lot of you are doing video SEO stuff. And you could do the same thing where you're funneling authority back to a channel, a specific channel that you're using for all your video SEO, you know, the videos that you're trying to rank. So that's something else that could be like to channel authority builder. You know what I mean? Like an automated channel authority builder, and just keep setting those up, and that would help your channel to become a lot more authoritative. And you guys know what happens when you have an authority YouTube channel. As soon as you upload or live stream a video, it ranks. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. This is probably the most popular product that I've ever created, and it was really like the first one that I ever created. But when Yahoo Pipes closed, I have not had a week when I haven't had at least 4 or 5 people sending me tickets to the support desk saying, when are you going to fix this? When are you going to bring this back? I miss this software, you know, help. And so that's really why we went so far as to build our own pipes replacement, is because it's a strategy that people love once they've actually worked with it for a while.
We got 2 more questions just came in. Bo says, so there's a one-time cost with RSS Authority Sniper and then a monthly with RankFeedr. That is correct.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
Okay. And RSS Authority Sniper, it's not like a yearly, it's just a one-time fee, is that right?
It's one time, yeah.
Okay. Nick says, do you create a new feed every time you post on a site, or can you just go back and add the new post to an existing feed for that site?
It depends on how related it is to the original, because if I have a static URL, you know, a post that I targeted for a particular keyword, and I write more content on that keyword, then yeah, you can go back and add it, you know, as another static to that particular feed, and then both posts will be getting the benefit of those co-citations. But I do tend to like to spread them out, because as I mentioned earlier, you kind of have to try and boost the overall authority of the website too, because
right.
because there's some websites that you see that the second, you know, kind of like with your YouTube videos, the second they post something new, it goes straight into the rankings because Google loves them that much. And so that's really what you're trying to do, is you're trying to create not only authority for specific posts and relevance for specific posts, but you're trying to create a wider, broader authority for your whole site or your whole channel.
Yeah. So Earl, I think that answers your question as well, because his question was very similar. He says, if you keep adding posts 2 to 3 times per week, do you overdo it by adding each post to a new feed each time? I would say no, because it's co-citations. You're not direct linking anyways. Like, I could see where you could have, you know, some reservations about doing it if it was like some sort of direct linking procedure, because your link velocity could be too fast at that point. But Earl, this is no direct links. It's the co-citation. I can't imagine you could ever overdo that.
Well, and here's the other thing too, is that RSS feeds have a particular purpose for existing, and that purpose is to announce content. And so when you are included in an RSS feed, you're perfectly fulfilling the purpose of RSS feeds. And Google understands what that is, and that is one of the reasons why they have never, ever penalized RSS feeds and RSS syndication, is because that is exactly what it's for.
Yeah. And I assume you could even build links to your RankFeedr feed if you wanted, right?
Yeah, you could.
Feed URL.
You could.
I haven't tested that yet, but maybe we should set up a case study, guys. That might not be bad.
Probably a better use of your time would be to submit them to the RSS directory. So.
Yeah, and probably to syndicate it instead. Attach it to a network, right?
Right.
I would agree with that. Nick says also, how do you update the software? Just log into the members area. That's where it is. The update. There was an update posted today. So. Nick, if you don't have members area access for some reason, just reach out to Lisa at her support desk. I'm sure she'll get you sorted.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, guys, that was awesome, Lisa. We really appreciate you coming on. It looks like most of the questions are done. So,
Okay.
Adam, do you have anything for her?
No, I don't. Just wanted to reiterate, thanks. I appreciate you coming on and talking about it. I think it's a topic everyone hears about. We generally know, or we think we know, but it's good to go back. And it was nice to have, go back and talk about the co-citation. And I personally just appreciate the over-the-shoulder. Sometimes I don't know, what I'm getting into. I'm like, okay, this sounds good, and then I like to see the software. And so I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but I think I'll be grabbing it either today or tomorrow. So.
Well, and there's a full demo on the sales page, too. There's a video about 3/4 of the way down. I try and be really transparent about what's offered, because I know that a lot of times in this particular space, there's a lot of hype marketing and blind marketing where they just say, hey, this is the greatest thing ever, but they don't tell you anything about it. And I'm one of those people who really, really hates to buy something without being able to see and kind of assess, is that really going to be good, or is it just going to be like a drunk duck designed it,
That's a good one. I'll have to use that sometimes.
I think Lisa is one of the better ones in this business, guys, and I think a lot of you already know that because she's a real marketer, not one of these people that just sells shiny objects. I think, Lisa, you've developed pretty much everything that you are selling specifically for your use first, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the best kind, guys. You guys know that.
Yeah. And also, I'm a big fan of automation, and I know there are a bunch of other people in the mastermind that are too, with the way we are running business. So I think this tool is going to help the guys in the mastermind a ton. And, I'll probably get a copy for a VA as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, guys, with the we teach content marketing and curated content, because you guys know how well that works, and content syndication and co-citations, right? And that's what this does, and this works perfectly with all three of those, right? With IFTTT syndication networks, as well as just curated content and regularly publishing content. So all of this works together, and so I think this is just a perfect tool to add to the toolbox to help us accomplish what it is we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking that Marco's got some evil ideas right now, but that's.
I'm sure he does.
I'm not talking because we got one of these wicked rainstorms, and I can barely hear myself think. But yeah, I mean, my brain is exploding right now with what I'm going to do with G sites and RankFeedr, and then this little piece of software pulling in just all kinds of authority and trust and piling it up on trust. So now think about trust stacking, guys. All of you guys who are in RYS Academy, the one thing I want you to think about is stacking trust. You could do it with Twitter. You could do it with your G site. You could do it with so many things where you're going to stack trust on trust, burn the feed, bring it back, pull in more feeds. I mean, the stuff that you can do is crazy.
I mean, think about it. You could pull a tweet URL and put it as a sticky item, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could fit anything in there, right? Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot we can do with this. Really cool. Have you tried it with the Google Maps URL?
I haven't yet. I know it works with Google Alerts. So if you get the alerts feeds.
No, but I meant to make a Maps URL sticky to see if you could help to rank in the 3-pack with the map.
No, I haven't tried that.
That'd be worth a test too. I can smell some case studies coming up, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, all right, cool. Well, we're going to let you go, Lisa, and we've got some Q&A for the rest of the members we're going to try to get to, but we really, really appreciate you coming on today.
It was my pleasure.
This is awesome stuff. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.